These are the top 12 running backs in fantasy football for 2024. This is a very tough position to predict. The volume is very projectable, but injuries are always rampant and situations change much quicker than any other position because running back falls off a cliff. And at the end, I'm going to be giving away my 2 best sleeper running backs for this season. Number 12, Aaron Jones. Ty Chandler is still there. He's going to probably get 30% of the workload, but the main 70% is for Aaron Jones. JJ McCarthy is an accurate quarterback who will probably love to check down to a great receiver like Aaron Jones and make things easy for him. Now, Aaron Jones was not falling off at all last year. The dude came on strong for the playoffs and the fantasy football playoffs, ripping up 100 yards every single game. He's averaged over 5 yards a carry throughout his entire career. That's only something Nick Chubb has done in recent memory. And in an offense that I think is a little undervalued right now, I think they could actually score a lot of touchdowns. Their defense has a chance to not be that great and force them into a lot of high-scoring games. And for the first time in years, he finally gets goal line carries back because A.J. Dillon is nowhere near him. 11 is Joe Mixon. He basically goes in a lateral situation. It's similar to Cincinnati and the Houston Texans, but a better run scheme for his exact style of running. We know this offense will be very high-powered. They now have Stephon Diggs. Tank Dell is going to be healthy. Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud. But around the goal line, Joe Mixon last year was extremely unlucky. I think he has to be more lucky this year. A much better running O-line to actually go behind as well. This is one of those things where I think Aaron Jones is much more talented, but Joe Mixon's situation and no other running back to really contest him, he should just mop up all the touches. 10 is Travis Etienne, a guy whose talent is kind of overvalued. All the advanced metrics show he was not very efficient last year, so I would be a little bit concerned that we may see some other running back kind of take over some work, but I still think he'll probably get 70 to 80%. And last year, we saw that lead to a lot of touchdowns for him, averaging over 16 points per game. I could see something in the realm of 15 to 16 again pretty easily. If Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis turn out to be huge additions for this offense, it could be even more high-powered, leading to more touchdowns, although he probably is due for negative regression based on what they did last year. 9 is Kyron Williams. Talk about negative regression. I'm probably the lowest person on him in the industry. I got him at 9. A lot of people have him higher. In drafts, I'm not really touching him. I don't like him in the second round. They drafted Blake Corum, who's supposed to be kind of his easy replacement. I think it's going to be like a 70-30, maybe 80-20 split. But Sean McVay is already raving about Blake Corum, and who really wants to drive a running back into the ground like they did with Kyron last year? Not many teams are fully willing to give like 96% of snaps to the guy. And we saw this exact thing with Cam Akers multiple years. We think we know who the starting running back is in LA, and then things completely change. Not saying that he's not going to be starting, but Blake Corum may get a bigger workload than you think. 8 is Derrick Henry, and the one word I would say to describe this new situation is touchdowns. Baltimore Ravens offense is good, obviously. With a good defense, they're probably going to be up a lot in games, and just rely on Derrick Henry, give him like 23 rush attempts a game, let him get his 100 yards and 2 touchdowns every single week. But as we know, if you're in a PPR league, this dude does not catch any passes, so if God forbid he doesn't score one week for you, you're probably with 8 points on your team. But the great news is this Baltimore O-line is way better than what he's dealt with over the Titans in the last 2 years. And Lamar Jackson is going to keep defenses honest and not really let them stack the box because obviously it's a dual threat ability. 7 is Devon Achane, who averaged over 17 points per game last year. I'm not quite as high on him this year just because I think Raheem Mostert is still going to get a big workload, but I still have him in my top 7. It's really hard for a running back this small to really climb the depth chart and like get more carries than he already did last year, especially when Raheem Mostert was so good on the goal line. But I don't see this Miami offense slowing down at all. They're going to be the most efficient, high-scoring team in the league, and that offers him great opportunity inside the top 7. I pretty much see him playing more games than he did last year because he was injured, but I do see him regressing in terms of yards per carry. He's not going to average 8 yards again. 6 is Jahmyr Gibbs. He's currently going as the RB4, and I just don't draft him very much at the back end of the first round. People seem to think he had some like CMC level season last year. He wasn't even close. He barely averaged 16 points a game, and most of that came in the 3-game stretch where David Montgomery missed the game and was hurt for the other couple. Very similar to Devon Achane. He's a little undersized, and I don't see why they wouldn't still use David Montgomery for a lot of the dirty work in between tackles. He's the bigger back and can take a beating. This is a great offensive line, but I just don't see him having that true upside unless David Montgomery goes down. But if David Montgomery does somehow lose the work or he does get hurt, then Jahmyr Gibbs probably launches maybe even into the top 3. The upside case, though, is he is in a top 3 offense with the best offensive line in the NFL. He should be fine. 4 and 5, I had a very hard time deciding between, but ultimately I put Jonathan Taylor at 5. With Anthony Richardson back, he's finally going to get a lot more of the RPO opportunities, which is going to lead to more efficient games, a lot of 5 yards per carry type of games. Maybe his sneaky touchdown upside here, I would be a little scared because Anthony Richardson is so good on the goal line, but he did get hurt on a goal line play last year, so maybe they push back a little bit and give JT more of those carries. And the Colts were not terrible last year. They actually did score a good amount of points, so I'm not sure how much better this offense can get, but if Anthony Richardson is that guy and they do get near the red zone a lot, this could have a lot of opportunity. The one problem is he's not going to catch any passes. Running quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, they just do not check down to these types of running backs. They would rather do their own thing, scramble if they can, launch one downfield outside of the pocket. It's just not in their nature to really dump it off like a Baker Mayfield or a Tom Brady, somebody who's just not going to move, which is basically the same situation as Saquon Barkley at number 4. He's not going to get dump offs. He may not even get all the goal line work because Jalen Hurts is so good at that. I just think in my heart of hearts that Saquon Barkley is more talented. He has had such a bad offensive line and team around him in the New York Giants facility. Now he gets the Eagles, top 2 O-line in the NFL. I really think he's going to average over like 4.8 yards per carry over the whole season. And if he does magically keep getting like 5-yard carries for touchdowns, give it to him on the 5, give it to him on the 10, maybe they give him some goal line work, he could really have like a 14 touchdown season here. I was just watching DeAndre Swift constantly miss such huge holes last year. Saquon has better vision. He's the better running back in between the tackles. He's going to be very good. 3 is Bijan Robinson, who's just as talented as JT or Saquon, but he does get pass catching upside. Kirk Cousins has never really been scared to check down to his running backs. Dalvin Cook used to get like 3 to 4 catches a game. It's great. And I think Raheem Morris is going to make a real point about using the stars in this offense rather than what Arthur Smith did last year, using like Jonnu Smith and Tyler Algier over Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. This offensive line is still top 3 in the league, and this team is going to be a little more run heavy than I think people expect it to be. I know Kirk Cousins is coming in. He's still going to check down to Bijan and do his thing with Drake London and Pitts, but I don't think they're going to go from like absolute bottom of the league to top of the league. I think it's like bottom to like, 60th percentile team, 60th worst percentile team. I don't think it's going to be even above halfway. I think they're still fairly run heavy. Then we got number 2, Breece Hall, who I think is just a little bit more talented than Bijan. Last year at the end of the year, he won a lot of your fantasy championships. Now, that's because he finally became healthy. He was a great pass catcher. Aaron Rodgers already shows tendencies with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones to check the ball down. Even with A.J. Dillon, who's just not a great pass catcher, he would still do it. Breece Hall was averaging like 6 yards a carry his rookie year before the ACL tear. He finally fully recovered by the end of last year. He started off slow, obviously, but he regained his speed and his confidence, and he should be great a year removed from that. Most players are pretty bad the first year back, and the second year is the one where they really take off again. And this offense is finally going to go from the worst in the entire NFL last year to potentially a top 10 offense in the league. My only problem I have is that Aaron Rodgers-led offenses tend to be very, very slow, so we won't see quite as many possessions as a lot of other teams in the league. But with such a great defense, they should want to pound the rock from a lot of leading type of standpoints or close games. I don't see them really ever getting blown out. And of course, at number 1, it's Christian McCaffrey. Best offense in the league potential here. I think they're favored by Vegas to score the most points per game this year. Still going to catch passes. They gave him an extension. Like, I don't even have to explain to you guys. He's favored to score a touchdown, maybe even 2 every single week. It's CMC, blah, blah, blah. We already know he's the RB1. Let me give you the 2 sleepers that I really wanted to put on this list. First up, James Conner. The last 5 games of the year, he averaged like 23 points per game. The dude was on fire with Kyler back. And we've seen this in years past. He's won people championships when Kyler is playing, and he actually catches dump offs, and he's amazing on the goal line. I know they drafted Trey Benson, but honestly, I don't care. I don't think he's ready to take over for what James Conner is so good at doing. And now this offense gets upgrades with Trey McBride breaking out and Marvin Harrison joining the team. They could legitimately have like a lot of goal line touches, and he's going to dominate them. Don't be surprised at the end of the year when people get injured and stuff happens, and he's like a top 6 running back in terms of points per game. And the other guy, guys, how are we not drafting Raheem Mostert way earlier than pick 100 where he's going on Underdog Fantasy? I mean, this dude just led the league in touchdowns, and what's going to happen? One of the smallest running backs we've ever seen is going to get goal line work all of a sudden and going to just completely take over when Raheem did nothing wrong, played amazing last year. That's just not how the NFL works and not how coaches work. They're not going to just hurt their best players for fun. If they're able to give it to have a split backfield with 2 injury-prone running backs, they're going to do that. They're not going to give one guy 80% of touches for fun. They don't want to do that to their team and then force the other guy to also take 80% when that first guy goes down. It's just not how coaches operate. So I really think that Raheem is going to have another efficient season in a great offense where he's going to score a ton of touchdowns, not catch a whole lot of passes, but it's like a Derrick Henry type of situation. Next up, I'm going to cover quarterbacks and tight ends. So drop a follow so you see that video, comment what other stuff you want to see, and let's get this video to 100 likes. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.